So you're China. You know a lot. You know a lot about our military. You know a lot about our naval strength. You know a lot about our technology. You know a lot. But what you don't know before you make that big leap, and remember, this is a huge, risky leap for China to take Taiwan. What you don't know is what exactly is America's military leadership like? How is the command structure? How is Joe Biden's authority? So if you're China, you've probably put together a folder by now, a big risks and rewards folder about taking over China. So let's just unpack what they know now, and then I'll make my little prediction. Gosh, I'm going to be obnoxious if this prediction turns out to be true. Let's first of all flash back to 2015. This is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley. China, they heard this video.
China's not an enemy. And I think that's important for people to clearly understand. They are going to develop themselves and are developing themselves into a great power. That is not to say, however, that they're an enemy.
Okay. And we also have this little bit from Mark Milley back in 2021. Remember when Trump was getting ready to no longer be president, and Mark Milley, remember that whole commander-in-chief little flow chart thing we did before? Although I don't think that's a flow chart. An organizational chart. The little organizational chart thing we did before where Donald Trump is the supreme commander as long as he's president. And you remember Mark Milley not only publicly admitted that he called his Chinese counterpart, the Chinese chief of staff, and told him, hey, I'll warn you before we're going to attack. Remember this?
As part of that conversation, I said, General Lee, there's not going to be a war, there's not going to be an attack between great powers. And if there was, the tensions would build up. There'd be calls going back and forth from all kinds of senior officials. I said, hell, General Lee, I'll probably give you a call, but we're not going to attack you. Trust me, we're not going to attack you.
Okay, that's pretty much treason. He should be in prison the rest of his life. So let's just add up what we know. Mark Milley, China's not our enemy. Mark Milley, China, I love you so much. I will call you and warn you if this crazy nut job Trump chooses to attack. Now, back to where we are now. The military, remember, knew about this spy balloon days before Joe Biden knew. Finally, the public picks up on it. It gets to Joe Biden's ears. Joe Biden looks at it, realizes this looks terrible politically to Republicans and Democrats, let's be frank. Joe Biden orders the shooting down of the balloon. The military says, not quite yet.
Briefed on the balloon. Order the Pentagon to shoot it down on Wednesday as soon as possible. They decided, without doing damage to anyone on the ground, they decided that the best time to do that was as it got over water. I told them to shoot it down.
On Wednesday?
On Wednesday.
But the recommendation
they said to me, let's wait till the safest place to do it.
Okay. Now, what matters is how China sees all this. They see the international embarrassment in Afghanistan. They see a chairman of the Joint Chiefs who's been chummy with them, to put it mildly. They see the chairman of the Joint Chiefs who's willing to play partisan politics and give them a heads up before we attack. Then they also see a military that has so little faith in Joe Biden, they actually hide information from him and then blatantly ignore him when Joe Biden gives an order. So if you're China, here's the information you just gleaned from this little stress test. Joe Biden isn't commander-in-chief of anything. Joe Biden is routinely ordered around by his advisors, Mark Milley and otherwise, and there is a growing amount of evidence out there to suggest that Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States of America, is possibly compromised by China in some way. What way? I don't know. But gosh, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff sure has made a whole lot of pro-China moves in the past 6-7 years, has he not? So if you're China, let me ask you something. In your risk rewards folder for invading Taiwan, what do you think Joe Biden will actually even be allowed to do if you choose to send those Chinese jets and boats into Taiwan and reduce the place to ash? What would he even be allowed to do when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs is at best biased, if not a Chinese asset? Chris, write this down. By June, China will have taken Taiwan. Why wouldn't they? Remember one final thing, because we're going to move on to the Grammys and vaccine mandates and all these other things. Do keep in mind one just little tidbit here. Joe Biden is a lame duck president. Everyone knows it. China knows we lack the stomach for any of this. China knows they have enough dirt on Joe Biden's son, in the very least, if not Joe Biden himself. They want Taiwan. They already consider it part of their country. There's not a single other nation in the world who can significantly dissuade China from doing it. Why wouldn't you do it if you're Xi Jinping?